Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to IO Radio with your host, Adam and Sal. And today we have a very interesting interview with a YouTuber by the name of Jauwn. And I've been a fan of his channel. He's just getting going, but he's already got quite a bit of a following, and he does something very interesting. Jauwn is a gamer and YouTuber who has a hobby that no one else wants. He plays and reviews crypto games. 8 months ago, he started a channel devoted to meticulous reviews of play-to-earn crypto projects that are often held up as examples of Web3 success. Instead of thriving, player-driven free market paradise, he's discovered a desolate wasteland of scams and barely functional software. His videos take the crypto claims about Web3 at face value and put them to the test, often discovering that there's little utility or fun to be had. From Axie to ARGs to Decentraland to Dr. Disrespect, the public owes Jauwn a debt of gratitude for his masochistic commitment to playing the worst and best games that blockchain has to offer. His dry delivery, sense of fun, and appreciation for the absurdity of crypto makes his videos a pleasure to watch. We look forward to talking to Jauwn about his work, his thoughts on gaming, and what else he's been working on. So, will you join us? Here we go. Let's welcome to the podcast, Jauwn. And Jauwn has a YouTube channel, and I guess it's called Jauwn, right?
Yep, just Jauwn.
That's spelled Jauwn.
Yes, had to differentiate myself from the classic Philly slang of Jauwn, which is the origin of the name.
Beautiful.
I got you. And I'll put up a little of your YouTube channel. And so I basically have been familiar with you for quite a while. It looks like you've got about 27 videos out. You got about close to 4,000 subscribers, which is pretty darn good. I think when I first got turned on to you, your channel was just getting started. Now you have, we're just about hitting 1,000, and you got 4 times that. I guess it helps when you're doing gaming. It's such a high traffic topic. How has it been with building the channel and everything?
It's been so much fun. Kind of the reason for starting it in the first place was a bit of a combination of boredom with my real job and the prevalence of these crypto games coming up where you see people with these 10x return investment, buy Doge game, double your money type videos. And I'm watching these and I see nobody even opens the game. Nobody even plays it. It's just about this coin. So I figured, hey, let's just play a game, see what it looks like, and give my opinion. And let's pretend that I don't already know what crypto is, which obviously I do, but kind of coming at it from that perspective was the goal. And what I found is there's a huge demand for this, not just from gamers who have been burned by crypto over and over again in the past, but from crypto fans who have been also burned by crypto games. So there's a bit of a kind of a double dip in my market, which helps a lot in growing a channel for sure.
And I think it's fun that you take them at their word, because it's all about the return on investment, but you're kind of saying, okay, well, let's see this game that you made. Let's see how it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's pretend it's not about the coin. Is the game worth it?
Yeah.
Although I guess it's got to be kind of challenging, because one of the things that we've discovered is a lot of these Web3 applications are vaporware. So it just to even find something that's functional enough to review is probably quite an accomplishment.
Or you'll find that they don't even actually have any Web3 or crypto integration yet. It's just a completely separate from the game. Mm-hmm. They haven't crossed that bridge yet.
So let's rewind a little bit and find out a little bit about you. So,
can we keep that secret?
Okay, so you're someplace in the northern United States. Can we say that?
Sure. Yes.
Are you worried about like crypto people coming after you?
I've already received quite a few legal threats. I just got my first lawsuit kind of thrown away. So we're trying to remain completely anonymous over here.
I hear
that's a badge of honor.
Oh yeah, I've been threatened to be sued. I had a very prominent crypto company like taunt me like, all right, give us your address so we can serve you. I'm like, screw you. If you're going to serve me, it's going to take you a little bit more effort than that. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, well, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, as much as you want to share your
Yeah,
general
yeah.
age group, what kind of education, what do you do for a living, what's your background?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
mentioned your job. I'm really curious what industry you work in.
So the industry I work in is kind of just general tech. My previous experience has really been in like healthcare tech. So I've worked for a few of the big pharma companies you've probably heard of in the past. I'm pretty young. I just graduated college in 2019. So I only have a few years of corporate life under my belt. But my current role is as a product manager for a kind of managed services tech data consulting company. So kind of the guy who takes the requests from clients and puts them into a form that makes sense for developers to get stuff done. So I'm used to kind of seeing problems that the end users have with the software and then translating it to, you know, this is what you think you want, but this is probably what you actually need, and getting things like that done. So kind of an analytical nature, especially around keeping tech working well for the end user, which of course crypto doesn't exactly work too well for the end users.
Well, I was just going to say you work for an actual company that makes a product that does something that's
Yes.
substantially different than crypto.
Yes.
And you appear to have quite an array of skills, as exhibited in your videos. Are you doing all the video editing and everything yourself?
Yes, everything's myself. The video editing, the voiceovers, the music is my own as well. Not all of it. Some of it's like video game music, but a lot of it is my own music as well.
And so what are you using? What's your video editing system software?
I use DaVinci Resolve, which I taught myself on the day that I started the channel.
Well, I'm impressed with it. I've been dabbling with Premiere Pro for a long time, and I look at Adobe After Effects one day wanting to learn it, and I see you're already got some pretty neat effects that you're using. Is all that done in DaVinci?
Yeah, yeah. It's mostly stock, but some of it's things that I've started to make using their Fusion tool set. But for a free program, it's pretty good.
And I guess, what about your areas of music and stuff like that too? Are you a musician?
Not professionally, but as a hobby musician, I've been into it for I don't even know, probably since I was like 8. But yeah, I played piano, took piano lessons for years, took guitar lessons, bass lessons, play a little bit of the accordion. I used to
Ooh.
sing, but now I kind of just make like ambient electronic music since it's the easiest thing to make in my bedroom.
Well, you do realize this, if you're into crypto, eventually you're going to have to put out a really, really shitty rap video. I think it's the rule, huh?
Yeah, that's about right. Or as I saw from a recent Callum Upton video, a reggae song for Income Island, the new metaverse.
Oh, wow.
No, we'll have to take a look at that one.
Yeah,
People are,
you'll cry laughing.
people are still promoting the metaverse.
Well, is it really a metaverse if it doesn't have online functionality yet?
It's a good point. That's a good point.
So, is this your first foray into YouTube? This channel?
Yes, yeah. I created my channel and kind of just started winging it. I never really practiced or anything, so kind of it picking up is kind of a surprise to me. Kind of been learning it as I go.
Yeah, it seems like, when I watched your channel, I kind of sensed that you had a similar origin story that like me and Sal did, where, we're tech people and we're kind of rolling our eyes at this crypto tech and all the claims that they're making. And then as more and more people get suckered into it, we're starting to get concerned, like, what's wrong with people, trying to reach out. And, when we've been doing this for a while, and it's been hard to find other people that will say the emperor has no clothes. I really think there's only a handful of us at this point in time that recognize it, unless of course you still believe there's some potential there. You just keep looking for it. I'm open-minded to it, but I can't find any of it there.
I don't really care, honestly. If it's cool, I'll be using it, and if it's not cool, I'm not going to use it. I'm not really kind of a ideological kind of guy, so I'm open to being convinced. But I played over 30 games at this point, and I've actively, I used crypto quite a bit when it first was starting to pick up steam back in the early 2010s. Now I was kind of using it just as, a kid wanting to sell items in World of Warcraft, right? Using Bitcoin was the only thing at the time, but it didn't have a value. It was internet funny money, and it made sense then. But as it's kind of turned into an investment vehicle for something that ultimately does nothing, for companies with no product, for games with no players. It's just kind of, I'm at the point where someone really has to prove that it's useful and I need to be using it for me to start considering it as valid tech. Well, maybe not valid tech, but particularly useful to the lay people.
I mean, 15 years into it, at what point do you
Exactly.
go, okay, maybe we should stop asking this question?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a distributed Ponzi scheme.
100%.
So we also noticed that you seem to be pretty aware of the state of game development and the technology, Unity and this other stuff. So do you have any experience actually developing games yourself?
Nothing professionally, but I do have a couple little indie games that I made for game jams and just practice things, which I have on my itch.io page, which is linked in my channel. So if anyone sees that, they can go play my terrible little games. But I know how it works, and I've been kind of exposed to people that really know how it works. So kind of being in the loop, you pick up the tricks of the trade.
And speaking of tricks of the trade, I'm really curious. All these crypto games. I mean, I would be scared to install one of those things on my computer. Do you have any advice for other people that want to try some of these games or test them out for themselves? Like, what's your setup? How are you protecting yourself when you're using these pieces of software?
That's a great question. And the answer to that is probably something that a lot of people don't know about. And I guess this is safe to use, but Windows comes with a virtual machine called Windows Sandbox. So that's just what I use. It's pretty simple. I don't think all versions of Windows come with it. I think only the Pro versions do, but it's served me pretty useful. I've literally opened viruses with it and infected the VM and been fine. So Windows Sandbox comes with Windows.
Perfect. So you're not using anything like any VMware product or anything like that, just the native Windows functionality. And
Yeah.
you're running everything in there. Cool.
Yep.
And I mean, I've seen you fire up Wireshark and things like that. Is there anything else that you would say is a useful tool to try to see what these games are doing?
I think for most people, kind of going past Wireshark just to see what creepy servers the game's trying to talk to is really as far as you need to go. But for one of the things that I had looked at, which was just a complete scam, I was able to open it up in Ghidra, and working with a friend of mine who is a professional malware reverse engineer, we were able to figure out that the game just contained completely no data at all. It was just thousands and thousands of lines of zeros, so it wouldn't get picked up by an antivirus.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was watching that earlier. They deliberately bloat these games to a certain size so you can't upload them to virus checkers, right?
Yeah, yeah. Very scary.
So one of the things I find pretty fascinating is you use some pretty high-tech detective work when you're researching these games to find out like how much of the content has been plagiarized or AI generated. Can you share your process and what tools and techniques you might find? Like if somebody comes across something, what's your standard set of things that you'll do to try to figure out whether or not, they've stolen this content from somebody else?
So finding out if it's stolen is pretty hard. I've been able to find a lot of things that actually other people who were interested in investing in the game research that they did and maybe posted somewhere on like Twitter. But a lot of it gets buried, so that's kind of hard. So one other thing you can do, and this isn't stolen content, more so just lazy content, is looking in things like the Unreal or Unity asset store to see how many things they just purchased right off the shelf and plopped into the game. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a game is bad. There's plenty of good games that use pre-made assets. But when a game, you can see that their domain was registered, 2 weeks ago, and all of their assets were pre-purchased, kind of sketchy. And then in addition to that, looking at the creators' LinkedIn pages, if they even have it. If they don't have their LinkedIn pages linked, probably not a good idea to give their money. And if they do have their LinkedIn pages linked, it's probably not a good idea to give them money when the CTO is a college freshman.
So you're doing research. You're doing research on the actual team then.
Yeah, also. Yeah, heavily looking into the team because, nobody's first game is a blockbuster hit. Like they say, every overnight success was a year in the making, right? So you don't see these people who have never made a game before suddenly selling $50 NFTs for the game and actually delivering a successful product. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't expect a polished product from an amateur. Everyone has to start somewhere. So when you see that they're just starting with their very first game and they're selling things for it too, huge red flag.
And do you think that there's space for NFTs in gaming? Maybe this crypto stuff isn't working out. Maybe, the coins are all scam, but maybe there's a place for NFTs. Do you think that's a true statement?
Um, is there a place for it as in can it work?
Yeah, like does it make
Sure.
sense at all? Does it make
Does it
sense to
make
do?
logical sense? In my opinion, no, because everything you could do with an NFT, you could do without. And I think if you deny that, you're just being ignorant. Um, there's really no other way to say it.
Right. And I guess the notion that, you could have an item in one game and it'll be transferable to another game is just really absurd. There's no motivation for a new game developer to spend a ton of time making all the somebody else's assets workable in their own. This is what bothers us is why would anybody in their right mind actually think that's practical?
Because they think that they can make money off of it. And kind of their greed is just blinding reasonable thought.
Well, do you really think that they're blinded, or maybe they just don't care as long as they can kind of hype it enough till they get paid off? Because I have trouble believing there's a lot of innocent people in the industry these days. I feel like everybody knows it's a scam. It's like, you bought a lemon car, now you need to sell it. You're not going to tell anybody it's a lemon until you get rid of it.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think it is. I think it's valid. I've talked to plenty of people who are heavily invested in it. I'm, good friends with people who love NFTs, and I'm still friends with them. But, we disagree on a lot of things. But I think, they say that, it's a scam, but I'm making money on it, or it's silly, but hey, I'm making money, so I don't really care. Which,
Right.
I'm kind of opposed to that morally. I don't really feel like that's a good excuse for running or participating in a scam, but to each their own.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I almost think that one of the greatest gifts that crypto has given us is the ability to easily identify people who can't be trusted, people who probably shouldn't have any real power. Because if you're willing to say, hey, it's okay, I'm going to scam you, I'm going to participate in this scam, and it's okay as long as I benefit. I mean, that's kind of a crazy thing to say. It's amazing that that's an acceptable thing to say in public to anyone.
I don't know if I would make such a general statement, because I think there is a part where it's ignorance and it's like blind hype, where people who just simply don't understand it are sold it, maybe by someone who is the scammer. So I think maybe it does always kind of come down to someone who really knows the truth of it and is kind of selling it up the chain. But sometimes the people who are selling it the most are people who just have absolutely no understanding of how it works or even the benefits or disadvantages of using it. And so it's kind of just selling a dream, I guess, or selling a very poor version of a product and marketing it as perfect.
So you would attribute it to ignorance more so than to anything malicious on their part?
In some cases. I mean, there's absolutely plenty of cases where it's just straight up being malicious because, if you're going to commit a crime, why not do it in a way where you can't get a refund?
What do you think then about, because I'm curious then, what about the specific cases? How do you feel about Axie Infinity? Because I mean, you had a video about that. I think it was about 4 months ago.
Yeah, he calls it the
sure
most evil game of all time.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
so
Well,
like,
besides the
what's your opinion
clickbait.
on that?
I think so it's kind of a difficult opinion to form because there's so much involved in that one. It's the biggest one. It's the one that probably introduced most people. The evil parts of it come to the fact that it was marketed by so many people to people in developing nations that can't get a real job, especially during the pandemic, right? Everyone's out of work. Everyone's looking to do something from home. And you have these mainstream media on the news saying this is work. This is the future of work. I mean, they're quite literally saying this is the future of work. And a few minutes of research into the Axie Infinity white paper shows that the developer themselves acknowledged on day one that if they cannot sustain a constant influx of new users, it will fall apart. What does that sound like? A little bit like a pyramid scheme, right? Mm-hmm. So is it evil to kind of acknowledge you're making a pyramid scheme, say, yeah, it's going to fall apart if we don't keep getting more people, and then keep it running. It seems almost uh, evilly ignorant. And then, of course, there's so many other controversies that they had, abusing people mentally to become a scholar, scamming people out of money, simply just lying to people, taking ridiculous predatory cuts of people's earning. So whether the developer themselves was, the person who created the evil is up for debate, but the total ecosystem that it formed certainly looks evil to me.
Where is it now? Is it pretty much fizzled out, or is it still going along?
There's a few people that are still playing it. It's split into two games because essentially they realized that, people aren't going to buy these overpriced NFTs, which, by now something that maybe sold for $1,000 a few years ago is $4. So the entry point's pretty low. But they spun off a free to play version of the game that actually plays completely differently. But I mean, it's still just a terrible game. It's a low quality mobile game that you could have outsourced to a development studio to get something twice as good as this done in 6 months. So it's like the developers aren't even putting their best into the game. How can you expect the players to put their best into it? So it seems like everyone that's left playing it is just bag holders or people who are hoping that they can pump it, but no real serious interest.
Do you feel there's any liability on the part of the developers? Like, is there any real illegality? I mean, it obviously may have some moral issues, but are there any legal issues that you can see with what they're doing?
So that's kind of something that I always think about because I think it's a little tough to say something like that is a security based on the four-prong test, right? Is selling the Axie token necessarily expecting a return from the development team, or is it kind of offloading that return to the player base? So that's kind of where it gets mucky. And I think there really needs to be some sort of regulation to fix that because at this point, it's just gambling, right? And then if we're thinking about it from the perspective that it's gambling, well, it's gambling with potentially a completely rigged system. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a gambler. I don't really know how casinos work, but I would like to imagine that casinos are, legitimate tax paying businesses that are audited by the government. So what we have is essentially a completely, unregulated using finances that can be completely money laundered, completely from hacked funds and washed away, like we saw when billions or maybe not billions, almost $1 billion, I think $500 million was stolen from Axie Infinity by North Korea. I mean, it's just a disaster. So could it be illegal? I don't know, but someone needs to do something because this is hurting way more people than this is helping.
Well, it's interesting, right? I think the Howey test, which is what you were talking about, it's an investment of money in a common enterprise with the expectation of a profit that's derived from the efforts of others. And I think you could make an argument that Axie Infinity fulfills all four of those categories. So it is an investment of money. It is a common enterprise. There is an expectation of profit. That's why everybody gets into it.
Right. But they also, one of the things is this has utility within the game. So there's a reason to buy it other than for speculative things. And I think that might be the angle that they try to weasel around.
Also, they're located in Vietnam. So does that even apply to them?
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, I guess if they're selling it in the United States, the SEC probably should take issue with it.
But are they selling it in the United States if you're having to pay with crypto?
Well, I guess that's a good question. Tell us how you would opt into some of these crypto games if you want to invest money in them. How easy is it to exchange US dollars for those tokens?
It varies. So there's some games where they require you to buy a token that was made by the developers, which is kind of a whole other issue. And there's games where they just straight up accept Ethereum. So it depends. If you live in the US, not every exchange that you have access to, thanks to our KYC laws, will sell these really obscure game tokens. And so sometimes to get the tokens that you need for the game, you have to buy Ethereum, and then you have to swap Ethereum for something else, and then you have to swap something else for the game token. So it could take as many as 3 swaps, each one getting lower and lower in liquidity, causing you more slippage, causing you more fees, and just being a general annoyance. And at any one of those steps, there could be some sort of scam where you're hoping to swap your tokens and you get nothing in return. So it's just For me, the fact that it's just annoying is enough to stop me from caring as a simple-minded gamer. I just want to play the darn game. Let me type in my credit card number. So kind of at that point, it dies to me.
Mm-hmm. How much crypto have you spent on this stuff so far, do you think?
I have not spent any crypto. I've been gifted any of the games by kind viewers who wanted me to review them. So they've just given me the NFTs. The only game that I spent my own money on was the Dr. Disrespect game, which I just paid for with my credit card.
So let's talk about some of the specific videos that you've done. So we think Axie Infinity is the most evil game. What is the best crypto game that you've reviewed?
So there's two answers to that, Ben. Best one that requires crypto, or best game that pretty much is just a good game that almost has nothing to do with crypto?
Well, either or.
Okay, so for the most finished game that I actually enjoyed playing was the one called Superior, which is just, a plain old normal game that is published by Gala Games, which is a huge crypto game company. They only make crypto games. And so I don't know.
Did you do a video for this?
Yes, I did.
What's the name of it? I'm actually showing some video while you're talking, so I'm kind of trying
It's called Superior.
How early was it? Because all your titles are like worst NFT game ever.
Let me
Gods,
find it for you.
Guardians.
It's newer. I believe it was in
Spider, March. Undead, Chirixia. The story of Axie.
March 5th, right after the Axie Infinity one.
Oh, Superior. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to play it while it's streaming across while you talk about it. I could share the screen, but I guess you guys don't need to necessarily see it. It's just going to be like video B-roll.
Yeah. So this game, now I don't know the full backstory of it, but what I like to imagine is that this was a development team that was making a game, as many development teams do. They're shopping around for publishers for their game. They find Gala Games, and Gala, as one of their requirements for being a publisher, requires you to implement NFTs in some way. And because this is just a roguelike game, which if you don't know what a roguelike game is, it's basically a game that kind of resets every time you play it. It's like a classic arcade game. Fitting an NFT into that makes absolutely no sense from a gameplay perspective. And so they really shoehorned it in and basically made it so if you buy the NFT, which I think the cheapest one is $300 and the most expensive was, I put the number in the thumbnail, let's see, $15,441.
Jesus.
And if you have the NFT, it basically makes it so your level cap is higher and you get more skill points. But other than that, it adds nothing. And they have the game on Steam, and the Steam version doesn't even support NFTs. So whether it's even an NFT game or not is kind of mucky. But from a game perspective, it's just like a kind of decent 5 out of 10 indie game, kind of unfinished, kind of not that interesting, but it's okay.
Amazing.
And that's the best, right? The best.
And that's the best. That's the best. Yeah. And I played it for maybe 10 hours, mostly just because I really wanted to beat it to see if it got better. It was okay.
Maybe what you need to do, Adam, is find a way to integrate NFTs into pinball machines, because nobody's thought of that yet. Like physical pinball machines that require NFTs. I mean, could be like a multi-billion-dollar business if you to listen to the crypto marketers.
There's plenty of pinball people that are into this stuff. I don't want to encourage them, believe me. So that's the best. What would you say is the absolute worst? I know that's probably an open-ended question.
Well, the very first game that I ever reviewed was called Robot Era, and it was a rug pull, and I think it had already rug pulled by the time that I reviewed it. But it was just a website, and I found this. I don't know if you remember, if you ever saw that video, but I was going through an article. The first result when you Google best crypto games, and it was like number 5 or something on the list, was Robot Era, and it was just a website that had some screenshots of a game that didn't really explain what type of game it was, and then a link to just send them money. And
the website is still up.
Yeah, it's still up, and they're still taking money, but every single person has left. All the admins have left their Discord server, and I'm in their Discord server still. I like to watch it, and it's just a bunch of bots sending good morning and good night every day on repeat, and then people coming in saying, "Are the developers ever going to show up again?" So That's the worst.
According to their website, they raised $1.5 million.
I don't even know if that's true. I think that number just goes up every day automatically. I
Fair
traced
enough.
some of the wallets. I think at least there was maybe 50,000 confirmed stolen dollars. So pretty ridiculous. But as you see in the video, if you go and look at the developers, it's just, made up names and fake LinkedIn pages. If you looked at this for 5 seconds and still thought it was a good idea to give them money, I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, they have like avatars as their, who they are. Alex Wong, COO. Yeah, just fake LinkedIn. Absolutely.
I mean, how can you look at that and then say, yeah, I'm going to give them $50?
It's apparently the director of Hadoop.
Yeah, what?
Formerly. Yeah, okay.
What is that? That doesn't exist.
Well, Hadoop is a technology, but yeah. All right. Pretty amazing.
I don't know if you saw our a blooper reel from the Bitcoin Miami conference, but at the very end of that, the screenwriter for Moneyball, who's also doing a movie about SBF and FTX, they asked him, well, what do you think about the crypto people? What do you think about the crypto versus the traditional finance system? And he had something really interesting to say. He said, it's interesting that the crypto industry is predicated on a complete lack of mistrust of all the institutions. But ironically, the crypto industry is just so full of these people blindly trusting whatever these new institutions are.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. Whereas everybody in the traditional world, with all the consumer protections, generally just doesn't trust anybody. But they, it keeps working.
Yeah.
It just seems odd that that everybody just keeps wanting to believe that all this stuff is going to magically turn into something.
Yeah, and it's almost, I think a lot of it comes to the perspective that these people take that are the institutions in crypto, which is very vocally saying, we are not an institution. We are different than them. And we don't wear a suit. We wear a t-shirt and we're effective altruists or whatever. And that's enticing to some people who really, truly have been burnt by the system for whatever reason. And a lot of those people are in positions where they're ready to be taken advantage of. I mean, you look at people who fall victim to pyramid schemes, or as they like to call them, MLMs. People that feel like they really have been screwed over by everything. And then when someone comes and say, hey, I'm the good guy, I'm looking out for you, this is how we'll get rich together, follow me, it just becomes, you're blinded to anything. And then you actively push away people who are trying to, say, hey, let's take a second step. I mean, if you go through the comments on some of my videos, you'll see some of the most deranged, hateful people in the comments threatening death because I said their game's not fun. Mm-hmm. And I just feel bad because they're potentially, and I don't want to play armchair psychologist, even though I am, even though I am actively playing armchair psychologist. I'm not I'm not a psychologist, but seeing these people, I'm seeing people that have been taken advantage of and they don't want to accept it. And they're just, they're going out and defending these games for free.
Yeah, speaking of being taken advantage of, so you had a DMCA takedown, right, recently against one of your reviews, and so you have actually taken it down, right? It's not on your channel anymore.
It's back.
Do you want to talk about that? Can we mention the thing?
Yeah. We can talk 100% about it. Screw that guy.
So give us a little summary of what they did, and then an update of anything that's happened since you made the video where you were talking about how you got in trouble for that.
So the game is not really a game, and it did have something to do with crypto to start, but because he sold exactly 0 NFTs, he took the NFTs out of the game so that he could put it on Steam, because Steam doesn't allow NFT games. And so I played this game because one of my viewers said, hey, I follow a Brazilian streamer, and the streamer is huge. He has like 15 million subscribers. And so this streamer was playing the game and basically found out that the game is nothing but, this costs $15, by the way. The game is nothing but a black screen with AI generated voices telling you in terrible English to like press forward 3 times, press back 2 times. And then once you've done that, you get a code, and then you're supposed to go to a Discord server where in that Discord server, you need 3,024 people to all enter the code that they get from beating the game, which again is just a black screen. And then once you press the keys, it gives you a code. And then 3,024 people have to enter their own unique codes within 10 minutes, only in a window of time, I think Wednesday from 10 p.m. to 10:10 p.m., which is just, borderline impossible from a logistical perspective, but technically impossible from a Discord simply can't support 3,000 messages in 10 minutes. That's something like 5 messages per second for 10 minutes straight. You would get shut down. So I basically just said that in the video. I said, this is $15 for a black screen and then a Discord puzzle that is completely unsolvable. Don't buy this.
But wait, what do you get?
What's the reward?
If you do all that, what
got to do
get?
it to find out. Yeah, it's who knows?
Really? So they don't even? There's not even a carrot they're dangling?
No. Well, the carrot is the mystery. So it's like it's supposed to be an alternate reality game. If you've ever heard of those before, usually the thing that they give you at the end is like, I think they did it for like Halo 3. So once everyone solved the puzzle, it was like, the Halo 3 launch date is whatever, and it gave you a cool trailer. And it was a puzzle for people, but it was free. It was free, and you could play it. And this guy was charging $15. So I made the video, and then when you typed in the name of the game, it was the 3rd Google result. He didn't like that. He filed a DMCA takedown and then emailed me basically saying, bad things come to people who do evil, so stop spreading evil words. And a couple other YouTubers picked it up and did their own story on it. And then the guy basically turned around and then was like, actually, can you advertise for us? We're going to put your video on our website and we're going to try to fit it into the story. We're going to be like, this game is so scary that people are trying to prevent you from buying it. Look at these people spreading FUD. And I was just like,
pivot.
I just ignored him. And then I set the video so you couldn't embed it. So I don't know. Good luck for whatever he's doing. But anyway,
which video is it? Is this the dangerous crypto scam is targeting YouTube?
No. So this one's called the worst ARG of all time.
Oh, okay. I see you have dirty jobs in there. Is that
once you see it, you must have it. There's no way
I'm looking for 3,024 people is the so the crypto scam one was one that was just a straight up virus. And actually one of my viewers was hit by that and lost all of his crypto.
Oh boy,
I did see that, and then so it was basically a backdoor that siphoned your credentials right off of your computer.
It was the same one that got Linus Tech Tips, same exact virus. I don't know if it was the same person that gave it to him, but it was Redline Stealer, which is it's a malware as a service.
So let's talk about this DMCA takedown. So YouTube threatened, they went to YouTube. YouTube told you got to take this down or you're going to get a copyright strike.
So you get the copyright strike, actually, regardless. You immediately get a copyright strike and your video is removed. So at the time, you don't get any money because the video is not up and you get a strike on your channel. So once you get 1 strike, nothing really happens. I think once you get 2, you lose the ability to live stream. And then once you get 3, your channel's gone. And so while you're waiting for it to resolve, and the DMCA is a legal process, so YouTube takes their hands off and says, you guys duke this out in court. We're taking the video down. And so he has 10 days to file a lawsuit and then send proof to YouTube. And he did not do that because it was obviously for a completely made up reason. But I was kind of screwed and had a strike, which is really worrying for someone like me who is criticizing games. And we've seen in the past a lot of people using DMCA to take things down that they don't like, which is obviously not what it's for. Yeah. So if someone else had done a DMCA against me while that one was still pending, I would be screwed.
I could understand that. Yeah. And so, this is something that we're worried about too, because we're very critical, and we certainly do reaction videos of other people's content. But I think it's all under fair use, just like your stuff is too.
Luckily, none of our 5 listeners have actually launched a DMCA takedown. But does he get penalized now? Like, is it a strike against the guy that launched? See, that's the problem.
Nothing happens. And he lives in Turkey too, so I can't sue someone in Turkey.
Well, this person just shouldn't be able to lodge DMCA complaints anymore, like at the very least.
Well, he could just make a new YouTube account and then file it under that one too. I mean, the whole system's broken. You get people, someone could take your podcast, re-upload it to their channel, and then DMCA you, and then say, "Look, it's on my channel. See, it's mine." And YouTube will say, "Okay, well, I don't know, take it to the court."
Amazing.
So after 10 days, no lawsuit was filed. Did you have to do anything, or did YouTube just remove the copyright strike?
I had to give him my full name and address, and then they removed it. So that's, of course, another terrible thing that people have been abusing in the past.
You had to give that to the person that attacked you?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't know this. So sorry if I'm, letting people know that this can be used evilly. But this has been used a lot against YouTubers. I think there was somebody
they can swat you then.
Yep, and it was done to swat someone. Just some random dude DMCA'd a video that he had nothing to do with, got the guy's address, and then swatted him.
Well, that is definitely unfortunate.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's a screwed system.
Okay, we'll fix that on the next podcast.
So,
but I'm curious here. So you've done a lot of stuff on games, but recently you uploaded a video about the Bed Bath and Beyond craze, or about a specific YouTuber who has been promoting this. And I'd love to talk to you about what your thoughts are about BBBY and GME and why you decided to start looking at that.
Yeah, this dude this was a departure on your channel. And I guess you're calling it a documentary. It's close to 2 hours long, this video, where you basically have compiled all this footage of this guy, I guess from one of the meme stop subreddits that has just been obsessed with Bed Bath & Beyond, certain that it was going to merge with GameStop or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's literally it. It was.
So is this a rabbit hole that you just fell down that you had to report on?
It's actually one that I've kind of been down for a long time, and it's what brought me to even making this channel in the first place. I would not have cared about crypto at all had I not witnessed the meme stock craze of a bunch of people hyping worthless nothing. And so it's kind of an adjacent interest naturally, seeing people get so hyped up and so bought into something that just makes no sense if you take a step back and look at it. And just tracking that psychology is so fascinating to me.
And so what did you learn from getting into that guy's head?
Oh my goodness. Well, I learned that social media is probably the worst invention of all time. Specifically because it allows people like him to not only have a platform, but for him to, view other people's platforms that are spewing the same type of nonsense. A lot of the stuff that they say is just outright lies, but because they have so many likes and retweets and they're highly upvoted on Reddit, they, create an echo chamber, and they think to themselves, I think that the quote that they always use is, when you're playing a video game and when you encounter enemies, it means that you're going in the right direction, which is just the most delusional take ever. The real life is not a video game. So when people are telling you not to do something, probably should listen to them at least.
Yeah, I watched this thing, and my big takeaway was this guy has a mental illness, I mean, this is a mental health crisis more than it is anything else. I mean, what's your takeaway from all of that?
Absolutely. It's we have a mental health crisis. That's a well-known fact. There is a huge stigma against getting help, and there's a huge stigma against admitting, that you might need help. And I think a lot of people are really going and pushing, take care of your mental health, get outside, turn off social media. And I think it's a step in the right direction. But what's really creating more of this issue is echo chambers online, Facebook. You get, for any topic, there's a cult of people that have created an echo chamber, especially on Reddit, where when you downvote someone, the post pretty much just disappears. So it's so easy to hide negative opinions. And it creates people that are very, maybe, I don't want to say gullible, but they view it as a sense of authority, someone who has a big number next to their name. And it's too easy for them to just take advice at face value without looking into it and doing their own research. And the result are people who are so bought in, not even just emotionally, financially. There are people who are selling their cars, taking out loans, selling their houses, and putting it all into these meme stocks.
A lot of it reminds me of
compulsive gambling, right?
Well, no, like the prosperity gospel. These preachers who tell you, listen, if you just donate $100, Jesus is going to pay it back to you tenfold. And it's just exploiting people who are desperate, getting them to become financially bought in and to promote this scheme that requires more victims. Like, it really turns victims into victimizers.
Yeah.
And in the case of BBBY, I'm wondering if you have anything to say about, Ryan Cohen. I believe there's a lawsuit against him.
Yeah, there is.
Because he promoted, I'll be honest with you, I've been looking at some of the stuff as well, because I find it very interesting. And I wonder if there's more corporate manipulation at play than anyone gives these CEOs credit for. So if you already have an apparatus where you can contact people in third world countries, click farms, to promote these things, I mean, going in and grabbing a bunch of stock that's worthless and then promoting it and then bailing out, which is exactly what Ryan Cohen is being accused of doing. He had a bunch of BBBY stock. He was promoting it at the same time that he was selling it. And so, it's one thing to say that a lot of this are people who are desperate or they have mental health issues, but how much of it do you think is actually just a way that financial special interests have found to make a bunch of money? And they're just doing what is easiest, because as far as they're concerned, there's been no enforcement of securities laws.
So I think there's two different types of that. So specifically for the Ryan Cohen example, and I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Ryan Cohen has almost never once directly interacted with these people. They've just attached themselves to him, and they think that he's sending them secret messages. And they saw that he bought Bed Bath & Beyond, and then they bought it because they saw him do it. And he sent that letter to the board. I don't think at any point did he directly promote it. And that's why it gets kind of muddy.
Kind of like a QAnon thing.
It's so similar to that.
So I don't promote it, but potentially if I say to Adam here, hey, give people some info that, I'm buying this, that's potentially completely legal, or it becomes much harder to prove that.
Well, he has to file it with the SEC because he bought a majority stake in the company. So they just see, oh, the billionaire that runs GameStop, our favorite company that we're obsessed with because we bought it at $300 and we're down 90%. So we love Ryan Cohen. And Ryan Cohen's Twitter is just complete nonsense. And these people have convinced themselves that he's sending them secret messages, even though he has literally said, my tweet are just essentially, nonsense. It's just memes. But they see his SEC filing that he bought a majority stake. He sent a letter to the board saying, I believe Bed Bath & Beyond, or specifically Bye Bye Baby, is worth, I think, $1 billion or something. And I want you to elect my picks to the board. That all goes to the news. They circulate it. Then you get all ththese people exactly like Kais Malesh on Twitter just saying, hey, oh, Ryan Cohen's doing this. Ryan Cohen's doing this. Oh, look, he tweeted a picture of 69. That means he's doing a reverse merger with Bed Bath & Beyond. It's making something out of nothing. And all Ryan Cohen has to do is buy something. He doesn't even have to say anything. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Just by being an influential person doing something, you've created a following.
So this guy, Kais Malesh, who basically took all of he took all of this stuff and ran with it and manifested it into some kind of elaborate conspiracy theorist stuff. What's your take on him? Do you think that he's just a victim? Is he somebody that was mentally unstable and this was just the content that he glommed onto and kind of ran with? Do you feel sorry for him, or do you think that he's that he knows what he's doing?
So he has been doing this for a long time. I point out in the documentary, if we can call it that, like you said, it's 2 hours long, so I feel comfortable with that name. But he's been doing this for a long time. He's big into QAnon type stuff. He loves Alex Jones, stuff like that. So he had been posting about that for over 10 years.
And I presume that he has come across other people that have confronted him on his claims and provided evidence saying, hey, there's no evidence for this, and this. And he's just dismissed them.
I would assume so, but he also has a lot of people, specifically in his old videos, which are all in Arabic, but I translated a few of them. He has a lot of people that agree with him. Like some of his videos, he has over 250,000 views. Mm-hmm. So he gets, I think he sees so many people agreeing with him that the few people that are saying, like, you're delusional, dude, stop. He's like, shut up. You are just, you're part of the problem. They.
I'm going in the right direction because they're enemies.
Yes. So, and then it comes back to the QAnon kind of thing. It's, there's this mysterious they that's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So this was done a while back. What's happened since you put the video out? Have there been any changes to the story? Obviously, Bed Bath & Beyond is completely bankrupt. I was actually at an auction where they liquidated all their stuff. So I actually got some stuff from Bed Bath & Beyond at one of the auctions. So I can attest to the fact that they're broken into pieces. But has there been any updates, any changes to your thoughts about, any reaction to what's happened and what's happened with this guy, what's going on with him? Is there going to be any kind of follow-up, or are you done with that?
So after I made the video, he subscribed to me, which was funny. Mm-hmm. And I had spoken to him very briefly over Twitter to ask a few questions. And I told him, I'm a reporter. I'm doing a video on you because I find you very interesting. And he was helpful. And he tweeted my video and he said, Bed Bath & Beyond loves me so much. They know I'm their #1 fan that they made a 2-hour documentary on it.
You're part of the BBBY.
Right. And so he kind of accepted me because I think he watches this and sees, I tried to take a neutral stance throughout it. I don't want to make fun of him or anything. I'm just quite literally showing you what he's doing.
But I love why throughout the video, you're showing clips of him talking about how everything's going to be great, and you've got the stock price superimposed on the screen, just going down every time. Later on in the video, it's hilarious.
Yeah, or him predicting that this store will stay open forever, and then a week later it closes.
It would have been so great to just interview some of the managers of the store. How he got kicked out of each one, because I'm sure it was probably some crazy thing.
I saw someone posted on the employee subreddit for Bed Bath & Beyond about a crazy man who kept coming into the store and talking to everyone. So amazing. Somebody said something about it. But anyway, to get into what's happening now, he's still posting videos. He deleted every single one of his old videos or privated them after I made the video. Because obviously he doesn't want to be, shown proving everyone wrong. He still records a new video every day outside of Bed Bath & Beyond, outside of his local store, which has been closed for like 5 months now. So he still stands outside of it every day. And his new theory is, and this isn't just his theory now, the few remaining people that are very invested in Bed Bath & Beyond actually have a podcast that they all flock to, which is a whole nother story and potentially a future video.
Oh, wow.
Where they
should
just
advertise that podcast.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They have over 1,000 viewers, and they're one guy who has never disclosed his position that talks about Bed Bath & Beyond is pushing this ridiculous, story about how Carl Icahn and Ryan Cohen are teaming up to purchase Bed Bath & Beyond any second. They're hiding in the background. They're just waiting till the right second to buy it.
Of course.
Why do they want to buy it? So that Ryan Cohen can get this army of loyal shareholders that will support the company. Now, these loyal shareholders are basically QAnon. I mean, they're extremely transphobic, homophobic. The stuff that they say is horrific. Like one time on this podcast, they had a transgender person come on the show to debate with them. And instead of engaging in the content, Bed Bath & Beyond, it basically just evolved to bullying the person for being transgender, which, that really shows you have a great argument when that's the only thing you can talk about. But anyway, these people are just scumbags. And now they have a whole show where there's one single ringleader who's bringing on people like Kai's to just spread misinformation based on nothing and banning anyone that says otherwise, all basically to pump the stock because it's an OTC stock. It's so low volume. You only need a few people to buy it to pump it.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm not sure if you heard about the deal that they made, Bed Bath & Beyond made with, I think it was Hudson's Bay. Mm-hmm. Where Hudson's Bay gave a bunch of capital for the ability to buy shares at a discounted rate and essentially dump them on retail.
Yes.
So part of me, like Hudson's Bay making money off of that deal really depends on them having an ability to sell to retail traders. And so some part of me wonders if there's some corporate malfeasance that's going on behind the scenes where people are soliciting click farms, soliciting these guerrilla marketers to go and try to pump the stock through Reddit and these other social media channels. And because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Like this deal doesn't make sense unless they're able to dump on retail. They really need those people buying in. And, you know, even things with Reddit, where Reddit seems to defend the BBBY subreddit. It's almost as though they're encouraging this stuff. And I don't know if that's because those subreddits are very profitable in terms of advertising revenue and in terms of the flair that people are buying. But there seems, I don't know, it seems a little bit convenient. I'm not sure that there's just a couple of guys that want to make $5 here and there who are supporting this stuff. I have to wonder if there's some people that are making serious cash behind the scenes on this stuff.
I have no idea.
Complete speculation on my part.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I will say that the argument that you just made is the exact argument that the Bed Bath & Beyond people are making, saying that there's people that are paid to talk bad about the stock. So like they think that I am legitimately paid by Citadel Securities. And I've made this as like a recurring joke in my videos, ever starting with the Kiraverse one, because that one was partnered with GameStop. So I said in the video, thanks to Citadel Securities for sponsoring the video, because the GameStop people despise Ken Griffin and the, you know, Citadel shorting GameStop or whatever. And that sent them off the wall.
You seem to have a lot of fun trolling people with very subtle things in your videos that people don't always catch. Like I was watching a video and you were like, and I was talking with the head of the product development, Nancy B, which I knew immediately was not a real person because
nobody's named Nancy.
Because there's nobody named Nancy.
It's true. I don't work with anyone named Nancy. Pick a better fake name, guys.
You know what would have been funny is you should have asked, what's the B stand for? And then just wait for this, you know.
Well, exactly. Because it ended with that scam ended with me saying, all right, can you send me a video of gameplay? And they said, sure, give us a minute. And then they blocked me.
Amazing.
Right. So they right when you were supposed to be running this thing, they just ghosted you?
No. I ran it because I'm using a virtual machine. So I'm running it and I'm saying, like, I clearly know it's a virus. I'm running. I'm like, oh, I clicked the game and nothing happened. And then they're checking probably on the back end to see, you know, oh, wait, he ran it. Why can't we get into his system? What's going on? And so they're like, oh, wait, turn the firewall off and then try, because the firewall blocks the blockchain. And those were their exact words. And so I said, okay, I turned the firewall off and did it. What's this? Why is my antivirus saying this? And they're, you know, oh, antivirus stops the blockchain. And then they just kept trying. And then basically once they realized that clearly I wasn't falling for this, they ghosted me.
So obviously you're into games. What games do you really enjoy playing? Obviously not NFT games, but what's your...
Is all your money in Star Citizen?
Absolutely. I've actually played Star Citizen quite a bit because I was going to do a video on it. And I still might.
I think it's worthy of a video for sure.
I have a friend who's bought a ship in Star Citizen for $1,500, and he would continuously talk about all the things that the ship would eventually be able to do. It's like, oh, eventually you'll be able to press this button and you'll be able to control this. It's like, okay, and how much did you pay for this again? $1,500. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that was a wise investment, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I will say I am definitely, you know, the market for this type of games. Like, I'm a huge MMO guy. I played World of Warcraft for well over a decade now. I've put hundreds of dollars into games, buying skins and things like League of Legends, you know, and I have no problem with spending hundreds of dollars on these games. I probably have, I don't know, this is probably embarrassing to admit, but almost 30,000 hours probably of League of Legends over the past 10 years.
30,000 hours.
I could probably check.
Wow. So you must be pretty good. You'd kick our asses.
I'm worse than I'd like.
I've never even played. So you say World of Warcraft, and I think EverQuest. That was my obsession. pre World of Warcraft.
Quite similar. But it's it's a good excuse for you've wasted or spent, depending on your opinion, all this time and money on a game. Wouldn't you like to be able to cash out when you're done? It sounds so attractive to someone like me. But then, it's completely ignoring the fact that do you cash out your, I don't know, experience you had watching a movie or eating a nice fancy dinner? I'll spend $100 on a nice Italian dinner and drinks, and I won't really feel too bad. I don't feel like I need to get my money back or something.
I don't have a problem with people monetizing games in creative ways. I mean, when I first started playing EverQuest, it was really hard in the early days, and I ended up buying a character. And I bought a character that was kind of power leveled. But, if you have a lot of friends in game that can help you out, it certainly works. But if you don't, you're kind of stuck sometimes, the way these games are designed. You have to have cooperative play in order to get certain items and to get to a certain power level. So I understand there's third-party markets where people will power level these characters and sell them to people. As long as it doesn't break the game, I don't have a problem with it.
And John, just because you might be interested in this statistic, in one calendar year there are 8,760 hours.
All right, so it's definitely not that many hours.
It's up there.
I would say probably. It's at least 10,000. Let's say playing it, especially I probably put 1,000 in just senior year of college because I was taking no courses and playing League all day.
They say it takes 5,000 hours to become an expert in something, so you're definitely a League of Legends expert.
I'm doing something wrong, man. Jesus.
So what's your favorite game right now?
I've been playing a lot of Age of Empires 2, which is
nice.
Maybe you say you like EverQuest, maybe a little bit closer to your age of game because that came out in 1999. So that game came out, I think, 2 years after I was born.
Get off my lawn!
You should try SimCity 2000 if you like.
Yes,
like that. Yeah.
So I've been playing a lot of that, and I think that's a good example of good game comes over everything because that game has been kicking for 24 years. Still got players.
I really like Civ also. So if you like Age of Empires, you should also try Civ.
Hundreds of hours of Civ.
Nice.
So let me ask you, what technologies do you think have the most potential? We have AR, VR, first-person shooters, MMORPGs, mobile apps, GPS-based games. Is there any particular segment of the gaming market that you think is got the most potential that you're looking forward to seeing where it goes?
My favorite out of that list is definitely VR, which makes me really sad to kind of admit that it's kind of died a little bit, or at least it's on hiatus.
Mm-hmm. I kind of agree with you. I think it has the most potential, but I'm also disappointed at how sad the apps have been available for that.
Right. And that's it's a catch-22, right? Nobody wants to make VR games because nobody wants to play VR games, but nobody wants to play VR games because nobody's making good VR games. And it's just,
right.
You have Beat Saber and Half-Life Alyx. Those are the two games that I put, probably 1,000 hours into those two combined, especially during quarantine. And they were amazing. But ever since then, it's just like, shovelware.
I got an HTC Vive and I went hog wild with it. And played all kinds of really cool games. And I swear if I set the system up now a couple of years later, it's the same games. There's not been anything new. And I feel like it has so much potential. Games that could teach you things, too. And games that use unique dynamics. Beat Saber is okay, but you're just flailing around in the air. I think
Speaking of teaching you things, there's a sorry to interrupt, but there's a VR game that someone made. I haven't played it yet. I don't even remember the name. Let me find the name so I can promote this guy. But he made a game where it's VR language learning. So you're walking around a town and you're talking to people in town and speaking a new language.
That sounds cool.
And like picking up a book, and you pick up a book and the Japanese word for book appears. That is genius.
Oh, that's cool. I love that kind of stuff. I think the big problem with VR is there's not a killer app. For mobile phones and smartphones, the killer app was Google Maps. I mean, it completely put an entire industry out of business. It was so useful for navigation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we just don't have anything like that in VR. All we have is standard 2D apps, mostly that are ported to VR. There are some VR simulations that I found pretty cool. There's one called Air Traffic Controller. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, I haven't.
where you're standing in a 3D space like King Kong over a city, right? And planes are all coming in, and you have to like use your arms to set the flight plan for the planes to land at the airport, and you're coordinating all these planes coming in like you're an air traffic controller. It's pretty interesting, but it uses the virtual space creatively, like Super Hot does. I assume you're familiar with Super Hot.
Yeah. That's a that wasn't a VR game, but they made a VR version and it worked.
Do you see? Is there any other favorites that you like in VR?
I hold on. I have to interrupt and give my take here and just challenge you guys a little bit, or see if you're thinking along the same line. So I agree with you. For training, I think it's a great platform. For gaming, I'm not sure that it is. I mean, it's cool. It's interesting. I'm not saying that there's no value there, but ultimately, I think VR's problem is that it is less immersive than looking at a screen with a keyboard and mouse, because immersion very much depends on like using as little of your body as possible. It sounds counterintuitive, but if I'm there watching a really great show and I can be immersed in it, I can sort of forget myself. And the same thing is true if I'm in a really great game and I just have to sort of use my mouse and my keyboard. But if I have to be like wearing a clunky VR headset and I'm getting sweaty and it's uncomfortable, and then I'm moving around and doing all this stuff, and then I'm getting motion sickness, I feel like that takes you out of the immersiveness. That's actually,
I don't disagree with you there,
to make an immersive game in that same way.
Well, it is immersive, but you're kind of pulled out of the immersion by being uncomfortable and being tethered.
Like until you get to the point where, you can, I don't know, stream something directly into your mind and you can't even tell that you're in a game. Okay, yes, that would be as immersive as reality. But I think right now, in terms of immersion for gaming, a keyboard and mouse beats VR hands down.
Well, you're talking about mainly there has to be a certain comfort factor or you can't get into the game, right?
Yeah, or it constantly distracts you.
I can see that.
Maybe that's not true. Maybe if you had a great enough game, that wouldn't be the case. But
have you played Half-Life Alyx?
I haven't, no.
Then play that and your opinion may be changed.
Okay. Right. I have an Oculus. Does it work for Oculus?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
What's your favorite VR platform right now?
The only thing I have is I have a Rift S, which is like the upgraded version of the original, the original Rift before they discontinued it to switch all over to the Quest, which I like it. It's nice. It's got great resolution. The controllers kind of suck, but
yeah, I've had to repair my controllers like 5 times.
Yeah, they kind of suck, but I definitely kind of agree with your point, Sal, especially with getting sweaty and, jumping around. It kind of pulls you out. But I will say that I have never been so lost in a game than playing Half-Life Alyx and getting through the story and everything. And reaching the end, I am not afraid to admit it because I am not the only one. I took off my headset and cried with just how beautiful the experience was. And I said to myself, this is something special. And don't go look up the ending. But if you see people's gameplays of playing the ending, a lot of people have the same kind of experience. It's just, oh my God.
Is there nothing that comes close to that in VR?
In VR, absolutely not. No, nothing. And I think a lot of it comes from me being someone who grew up with Half-Life. So I've been waiting for the sequel to Half-Life 2 forever.
Oh, yeah.
So to finally get this, it was very, very cool.
I played the original on PC when it was released. That was a game changer for sure.
Yeah. So Half-Life Alyx, though, amazing. And it's a long game, too. It's like 13 hours of gameplay. The horror level, I've never been so scared in my life.
Okay, cool. That's interesting.
All right. So everybody listening, all 5 people were going to be looking into that, too. Well, that's, I mean, we could talk about our favorite gaming platforms and technologies forever, for sure. Is there anything else that's going on? What have you got in the pipeline that you're going to be doing in the future?
Well, I seem to be getting quite a positive response to my series proposal of playing all these crypto games on the Epic Game Store. Even though I said I would stop playing crypto games, they seem to keep drawing me back. And I do what the algorithm demands. So probably going to keep playing crypto games.
Has anyone accused you of being a masochist?
Oh, that's probably 12 comments per video.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you. You're doing a public service by playing these games so that we don't have to.
Yeah.
And you may be the
unfortunately.
only person playing those games too.
Oh, most of the time I'm the only player online. Majority of the time.
So you're single-handedly keeping the crypto gaming industry afloat.
In player numbers, yes, but in
Perfect.
investments, no, not at all.
Okay.
My viewers are not spending money on this.
Perfect. So, okay, so you're just sucking money out of the industry. That's good.
Yeah, kind of. Or making money off of them since I get, what, $12 per video? Let's go.
Perfect.
Well, we really, really appreciate having you on. And is there anything else that you want to tell our viewers about what's going on in the future and anything you want to promote?
No, not really. Subscribe to Jauwn, and thanks for having me, guys.
And John, I just think in your videos, I think maybe what you might want to do is have like an ad segment where you just give a shout out to Citadel, but do it in a completely straight-faced manner, just to throw off your critics who are
And George Soros too. Remember, we have to keep.
Yeah, George Soros is for the crypto bros.
Well, we're all going to go and
G&A.
collect our checks from George Soros after this podcast. So
That's right. All $4.56.
Well, thanks for coming on. And anytime you want to come back and hang out with us, I know you're in our Discord too. So if people should join us on our Discord. You can find that at ioradio.org and pop in and chat with us. And, until next time, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining, and thanks everyone for listening.